Cost of living crisis is beginning to impact consumer sentiment in the housing market. That's according to data from a myhome.ie survey, which suggests prospective home buyers are exercising more caution than would previously have been the case. For more on this, I'm joined now by Kevin Beirne of Kevin Beirne Auctioneers and Property Valuers in Mayo, and Assistant Professor of Social Policy at Maynooth University and author of Gaffs, Why No One Can Get a House and What We Can Do About It, Rory Hearne. Gentlemen, you're both very welcome.
Thank you.
Morning.
Kevin, let me start with you. The reading through some of the data on the myhome.ie research, some of it is I would have thought counterintuitive. For instance, 2/3 of the people surveyed said that they had the finance in place to allow them to buy over the next year, but only 54% were confident that they would be able to buy in that period. What is it that is preventing them if they have the finance in place?
Good morning, Anton, and thank you for inviting me onto your show. People are gone cautious. That's absolute truth. Since May, I found in Castlebar and in County Mayo that the inquiries have really halved with people looking for new homes. The cost of living is real. I mean, you pull up at a petrol pump, a diesel pump, your cost of living has gone up. You're paying 30 or 40 euros extra per week to fill your car, at least. Your electricity has gone up. Food prices have gone up. And all this is affecting people's buying power, and they're being cautious. Even though they have their money in place, as you say, they're watching the prices of houses. Is there a slow cooling off? There definitely is. Will there be a major reduction in prices? I don't think so, because we're still caught with supply. But people are being cautious and just watching and seeing what's happening.
Rory Hearne, can you explain the aspect of this when you juxtapose new house purchases or home purchases versus rent? Because we're hearing so much about how high rents are that you would have thought to some degree you would be economically incentivized to buy if you could get the mortgage at the right rate.
Yeah, I think that what's happening is we're still seeing a situation and that figure you gave there, about 2/3 saying that they have the money to buy, but only less than that, 56% said they actually, are likely to buy. There has been a problem over the last couple of years, is this whole issue of people can have mortgages, but they can't find a home that they can actually afford within that mortgage range. And particularly in Dublin and the greater Dublin area, people just can't find a home within, the mortgage that they have, and they're being significantly outbid. And I think that what's happening here is we're seeing, that this cost of living crisis comes on top of a housing crisis where, people were forced to pay so much in rent, and you're asking the question in terms of rent, would it not incentivize someone to buy? The problem is that when you're renting, so much of your rent or so much of your income is going on rent that people aren't actually in a position to save to get a deposit, save to be able to afford the costs that are additional costs that go into buying a home. But also the problem is, in some cases, houses literally aren't there to buy. And the ones that are there to buy are either in Dublin being bought up by investor funds, or around the country are simply beyond the budget that people have or the mortgage that they have.
Well, to that point at the start, Kevin Beirne, how much are you seeing of that people are arriving to you saying, look, we have a mortgage and we have an expectation, and you have to say to them, well, the two of them don't actually align?
Yeah, I would agree with that. What we have found, believe it or not, in COVID, people seem to have time to, look at house prices and make decisions on moving on, and demand went up during that period, and after COVID, when restrictions were lifted and we were allowed to sell properties again, we were finding that houses were being sale agreed within 1 month. Whereas now you're gone to probably in Mayo, you're gone to 2.5 to 3.5 months to sale agree a property now. So,
and what's now is that a financing delay? Is that a reluctance on the part of the buyer? Is it the sellers deliberately going slow because they may have an issue with where they move to? What's the driving factors behind that?
Yeah, people are being, couples and new home buyers have been cautious, and they're taking their time. We see house stocks have risen slightly with a lot of landlords and landladies vacating the market. That's bringing on extra stock, be it off a very low level, because we were short of stock in Mayo and houses. But yeah, we seem to have some extra stock on our books now, but it's still taking longer to sale agree these houses.
Rory Hearne, sorry, Kevin. I just want to go back to Rory on one aspect of the impact of this, because there's two oddly contradictory studies coming out on the same day. The myhome.ie one is saying that 3 in 10, so only about a third of people believe that house prices are going to rise in the next 12 months, which is significantly down on what it would have been only 4 months ago. But meanwhile, the Bank of Ireland has just put out a survey saying that 3 out of 4 people believe that they are going to go up. Who do we believe, Rory Hearne?
Well, it's very difficult to tell what exactly is going to happen in the coming months in terms of the housing market, because we're facing a number of kind of storms together. Because it's not just the cost of living crisis, it's also interest rates as well that are going to rise. And people are aware of that. Potential home buyers are aware of that. And the banks are as well. So you might see this situation whereby we have this, a certain increase in housing supply, but actually prices might, and in terms of people's ability to buy, reducing, but yet house prices continue to go up in some places. And I think it's important to look around the country. We do have many different housing markets. If we look at Dublin, there's areas of high demand in Dublin where prices are still, being outbid in terms of, are going way in excess of the asking price. But in some parts of the country, we are seeing, up on some of the websites, the price has been reduced to try and sell them. So it's difficult. I think what's happening, though, is that we have to see here that people who are looking to buy a home, and they're generally younger people, that they are facing, they've been renting, they are, or else they're living at home with parents. They're in very difficult financial situations because they don't have the higher incomes of generations in their 50s and 60s to take and withstand the cost of living crisis. And so this is going to, I think, really impact in terms of their ability to spend on housing. And what that has then is a wider impact, and we're hearing this, is developers and builders are actually stopping to build down the line. And we're seeing the projections from the ESRI, for example, that we won't meet that new housing supply targets in 2024. So I think that it's very difficult to see what's going to happen. But what everyone is saying, unfortunately, is that rents are going to continue to rise. And this is a real issue. And I think the budget comes into focus here because the government has an ability to impact on that in the budget.